Well, welcome back to my channel. I'm back and I am starting slowly to make a new quilt. My goal today is to sort out some fabric strips that I have in a container, and I am sorting them out, as you can see, colorways, different colorways, lots of bright colors. That's a good thing. I'm going to be using all of these strips in a couple of different ways to show you how strips of various sizes and strips of various colors can be used together in making a scrappy quilt. And of course, I have lots of bits and different sizes of batting as well. My friend, who is a long armor, generously gifts me some of her batting strips and leftovers from her long arming process, and she gives me a whole bunch of leftovers, so I always try to make good use of them and make them into donation quilts. And today I am going to show you two different ways that can use these various colors of strips and various sizes of batting. Now, one thing that I do quite often is just to do a quilt as you go process, in which I have a backing fabric, a piece of batting, and I sew strips on together and make strips, and then I will sew them together as a quilt as you go project. And if I have enough of the same backing fabric, the whole back is going to be a uniform design, and the front is going to have a variety of different colored strips. So I have a finished one that I've been working on during my slow period in the last 2 weeks. And I will just show you the one that I have finished up on the wall. I started in the center here with a motif, and I picked out the colors of this green and pink from the picture that's on this panel. And all I did was just start sewing strips around the outside. Then I added a panel here, just sewed the strips onto the backing, one after the other, flip and fold. And then I added another one here, and then I added one here, and it's kind of like log cabin. They keep going around until it makes the size that I want. And you will notice that some of these are narrow and some of these are wider, because I wanted to get a quilt that was 40 inches across by 60 inches down. And I used a green color of sashing on each of these from the decorative part here in the center. And on the back side, I did use on the back side the same fabric, because I had a piece big enough, and I picked out a color of leftover strips that blended with the backing as well. Whoops. And to finish it off, I just put a binding around the outside. These little quilts are really good donation quilts. They go to a lot of different places, and they are very, very good to use up a lot of these leftover bits and pieces. I had a lot of other bits of batting that were not just straight lines, but pieces. So I am trying something new. I'm trying something new. And I'm going to flip and sew once again. And I'm making a triangle. I've used a triangle ruler, and I have used a 9-inch size. And what I'm doing is just flip and sew, but I'm making this one a little more defined in colorways. And so when I'm going through my strips, I sometimes will separate them in little piles and make different colorways. And then these, I'm going to try sewing these together with another piece and making a quilt that is going to require an entire backing on the quilt, and I will have to do some extra stitching on it to hold the backing together with the front pieces. And I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just thought it would be quite interesting to see how it goes, and it's an experiment. If it works, I might try something different. If it doesn't work, it will be a lesson learned. So my process here is basically the same as making these little strips. I'm flipping and sewing them and trimming them to the size I want, but then I'm sewing the pieces together on the back and pressing that seam open very, very prominently, because I know when you have triangles and you sew them together, this part at the corner where they get sewn together are going to be bulky. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. But I've got a lot of little pieces that I can make 9-inch squares. So that's what I'm going to do. So right here, I'm just taking the time in different colorways. I've got a pile here that's orange, a pile that's sort of blues, and I'm just taking my time and making a bunch that I'll put them up on the wall and make a pattern out of them and see how that works. But anyway, that's my plan for today. Well, here's the first lot. I have made a number of these, and I'm just putting them together end on end and making rows of the same color horizontally throughout the quilt. I've taken them again and put them in a hexagon form. This one to me doesn't seem to be quite as nice, and it's not as easy to make wider. Okay, this is the third method that I'm trying, and I think this is going to be my winner. And I can add to it long enough rows left and right, and as it keeps adding, it is looking pretty good to me. So now what I need to do is adjust it and make a few more squares, because whenever I sew all of these triangles together, a whole lot of length and width gets eaten up in the seam allowances. So now that I have all of the rows sewn together, I can just add a few more half squares or half triangles or full triangles here and there and finish it off. I have put all of these triangles together in a diagonal pattern, and the experiment has worked out quite well. I like the way that it goes together. It's very easy to sew together, that's for sure. And at the points where all 6 triangles meet, you have to do a little bit of manipulating the batting so that it doesn't get to be too bulky. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. I've ironed all of the seams at the back side. I've opened them up, and that helps a lot to reduce the bulk of the seams on the front side. And so what I'm going to do, I just made a full backing for this small quilt, and I'm going to pin this on. And I think what I'm going to do is just do a top stitch do a top stitch on the front and follow the seams. I don't think I need to put anything in the main part of each of these triangles to hold the backing together. I think I'll just maybe go along a diagonal all the way around instead of just straight up and down. Maybe I'll just follow these diagonals, and that should be enough to hold it all together. And then I'll just trim off the little bit of edging, put a binding around the outside, and it will be done. Now, up in the top pieces, I made triangles as the 9-inch triangle, and then I just cut it in half and flipped it over and put it on the diagonal to fill in these spaces at the top. That was very easy to do. So all of the little bits and pieces of these little strips, I think they look quite nice together. A nice color pattern, rainbow color patterns. It's not quite a rainbow. I've got green, orange, turquoise, yellow, purple, pink. It's quite pretty. And on the back side, I've got a nice piece of fabric here with butterflies, and they have all of those colors in it. So it will be a nice quilt for a child. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to put a few pins in here, sew along the diagonals with the sewing machine, then trim off the outside edge and put a binding on it. Then I'll show you the finished product. Didn't take very long to finish this one. Here is the finished product, and I did just as I said. I went and sewed along the diagonals all the way across, trimmed off the edge, and put a binding on the outside. Looks good, and it certainly was an easy quilt to make, and it certainly used up lots and lots of those little strips that I have been saving. Again, if you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, and if you have not done so, please think about subscribing. I'll be back again soon with another quilt. Bye for now.